It's been 3 years since 18-year-old Ethan Crumley went on a shooting rampage at Oxford High School in Michigan. The incident left 4 students dead and 7 others injured, including Crumley himself. But the motive behind the massacre has always remained unclear. What did Ethan Crumley do and why? Well, today we're going to find out exactly what happened after that fateful phone call that triggered the shooting. But before we get into it, Alyssa, if you're watching this from anywhere in the world, welcome to my channel where I cover all things crime. Now, without further ado, let's get into the video. On the morning of November 30th, 2021, James Crumley dropped his son off at Oxford High School in Michigan. At this point, there was no indication that anything was amiss. It had been a normal day, in fact. Ethan Crumley had been looking forward to the day because he would be able to use his new gun for the first time in school. See, the day before, on Thanksgiving Day, Ethan had received the firearm as a gift from his father, James. Ethan loved guns and spent most of his free time shooting with his dad. And so when he received the single-shot 9mm handgun, he was thrilled. He showed his friends pictures of it and asked if they wanted to see him shoot it. One of Ethan's friends even told investigators that he had seen the gun and that it looked like something straight out of a movie. So Ethan decided that he wanted to bring the gun to school to show off to his friends. He didn't know that what he was about to do next would forever change all of their lives. At around 12:51 p.m., while walking down a hallway at Oxford High School, Ethan pulled out the gun and fired multiple rounds into his classmates. The first victim was 16-year-old Tate Meyer, who was sitting in the hallway talking to a friend. When Tate realized what was happening, he stood up and tried to run, but collapsed just a few feet away from the shooter. Next, Ethan turned his attention to 14-year-old Hannah St. Juliana, who was sitting in a classroom across the hall. She had no idea what was coming until she heard the gunshots. The two were only separated by a door, yet somehow Hannah was still able to see Ethan and what he was doing through a window. She tried to hide, but it was too late. Ethan then turned towards 17-year-old Madison Baldwin, who was standing near her locker. She had been talking to her friends about getting some snacks from the vending machine when she heard the gunshots. She turned around and saw Ethan aiming the gun at her. She screamed and started running, but not fast enough. The next victim was 17-year-old Justin Schilling. He had been hanging out in the hallway with a group of friends when he noticed the commotion. He walked over to the nearby window and saw Ethan firing the gun. He instantly knew what was happening. An alert had gone out over the school intercom telling everyone to run and hide. Justin knew that the shooter was now heading his way. He tried to run but stumbled and fell. That's when Ethan approached him and shot him in the head. By this point, Ethan had already emptied the gun. He needed to reload. As he did, 14-year-old Abigail Grimes ran past him. She had been in class when the fire alarm went off, and she thought that maybe there was a fire. When she realized that there was a boy with a gun shooting people, it was too late. She was already in his line of fire. Finally, Ethan turned to his last victim, 17-year-old Stephen Terry. He had been in a classroom when he heard the gunshots. Thinking that it was someone messing around, he went to the window to look. When he saw Ethan, he tried to run, but it was too late. As the victims lay bleeding on the floor, Ethan ran out of the school. Police would later determine that he had intentionally missed when shooting his victims, meaning he had actually taken the time to aim at them. He wasn't just going on a random shooting spree. These were targeted killings. But why? Why did he do it? Well, the answer might lie in a series of troubling texts that Ethan sent before the shooting. Earlier that week, Ethan had been suspended from school for making a threat. On November 26th, he posted an image online of a drawing of a person being stabbed, along with the caption, "The thoughts won't stop. Help me." Then, on November 29th, he posted another worrying message saying, "I am so angry right now. I want to go to Oxford High School and just start shooting people." Then, at around 11:17 a.m. on the day of the shooting, he posted, "My life is going to end and I don't want to live anymore. The only way it stops is if I die." And finally, just minutes before the shooting at 12:39 p.m., he wrote, "See you in the afterlife." So it seemed clear that Ethan was having suicidal thoughts and was planning to take his own life. But what was unclear was what had triggered him to have these thoughts and what had caused him to lash out at his classmates. To understand what happened, we need to go back to November 2021. Ethan had just returned to in-person learning after attending school, virtually for a year and a half due to COVID-19. But he was struggling to adjust. His parents had recently divorced, and his father had remarried. He was also being bullied at school, which had gotten worse since he had returned to in-person classes. In October, he began having panic attacks, which made him miss several days of school. On October 26th, he was suspended after he brought a lock to school and threatened to harm himself. On November 10th, he was suspended again after he was caught vaping in a bathroom. Just a few days before the shooting, he got into a physical fight with one of his classmates. On top of all of that, Ethan was failing most of his classes and worried that he wouldn't graduate high school. That's when his parents gave him the ultimatum that if he didn't improve his grades, he would be sent to military school. In response to the stress, Ethan began having panic attacks again. And on November 26th, he admitted himself to McLaren Oakland Hospital complaining of chest pains, but was released the same day. 3 days later, his father gifted him the gun, and that night Ethan texted his friend saying, "I want to hurt people." His friend responded, "You're not going to do that? Don't be stupid." But Ethan replied, "I think I might just do it." His friend told investigators that he didn't think that Ethan was serious and had blocked the messages from his phone. But something was clearly wrong. That night, Ethan wrote in his journal, "There is a voice inside my head that won't stop saying that I should do something. I'm scared. The voice won't stop." On November 30th, the day of the shooting, Ethan woke up feeling depressed. He argued with his mother and then went to his father's house. There he met his father and his new wife and his younger brother. But Ethan claims that he was ignored for the most part. He went into his room to calm down. But when he came out, he claims that his father was angry at him for something and yelled at him. This led to a huge argument between the two, and Ethan ran out of the house. That's when he called his ex-girlfriend and told her that he felt like he had nothing to live for and that he was depressed. After the phone call, Ethan decided to go to school, despite the ongoing bullying and pressure to succeed. We don't know exactly what happened after he arrived at school, but we do know that he sent those concerning texts before he went on his shooting rampage. After the shooting, Ethan was found hiding in a bathroom covered in blood. When police arrived, he had self-inflicted gunshot wounds to his face and stomach. He was rushed to the hospital where he was placed in critical condition, survived, and was charged with terrorism causing death, 4 counts of first-degree murder, and 7 counts of assault with intent to murder. In August of 2022, he pleaded guilty to all of the charges. He is currently serving his sentence at the Ionia Maximum Security State prison, where he will be eligible for parole in 2024. His father, James, and stepmother, Jennifer, were also arrested. They were charged with involuntary manslaughter for giving Ethan access to the gun and for not properly securing it. They are awaiting trial and have pleaded not guilty. So what do you guys think? Is this case a product of bullying and academic pressure, or something more sinister? Let me know your thoughts down below. And with that said, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.